you struggling with being hard on yourself? Here's how to stop doing that. I'm going to share with you some perspectives, or you can also think of them as mantras that help me get through this when I know that I'm being really hard on myself. So the first one is you're doing your best. And I know that if you have an urge to fight that like I would, you immediately think of all the reasons why you're not doing your best and that you in fact could have done it better. If any of you all are fans of Brené Brown, she talks about this concept of generous assumptions, giving yourself the most generous interpretation of the situation. Well, she talks about it as applying generous assumptions to other people. And in this case, I want you to do that for yourself. Why shouldn't we apply generous assumptions on ourselves? If we let ourselves apply generous assumptions on ourselves, then it gives us a lot more space to recognize that it's okay. A spin on the same perspective is, have you considered that you are actually reaching your upper limit? That if you believe that you have indeed been doing your best and trying your best, then there is really literally nothing else you could have done because you've done your best and you were there. Nothing else could have been a possibility, like literally. The second perspective that helps me when I'm being really hard on myself is a Maya Angelou quote, and it goes like this: "Forgive yourself for not knowing the things you didn't know when you learned them." I've memorized this now, and it's really actually hard for me to recall this in the moment because I think I need somebody else to do it for me to remind me of this quote. But I have in fact memorized this quote, and I just love this quote because if you break it down, forgiving yourself for not knowing the things you didn't know when you learned them is the definition of learning. And I love how it begins with the verb forgive. I think even just the word forgive and the idea of forgiveness and forgiving, the verb and action of forgiving yourself, is such a difficult thing. But it's also so beautiful because when you can forgive yourself, don't you feel like that is just the like you're the most evolved stage you can be in if you can forgive yourself and others as well. And so forgiving yourself is actually harder than just forgiving other people, in my own opinion. But if you can let yourself see the beauty of being able to accomplish forgiving yourself, I think that's a lot to be proud of. This third perspective I have is kind of out there, but it is to think about yourself in the realms of multiple universes. So what I mean by this is a lot of times when I know that I'm really hard on myself, it's because I wish I had done something differently and my life had not turned out to be the way it is. Or maybe I do because I'm really happy for where my life is right now, but there's something I wish I had done differently or said differently perhaps. When you think about, so the concept for myself, for thinking about myself in different universes, goes like this. I lean into the most fantastical edges of myself, the most creative and imaginative edge of myself. And I visualize myself literally in a different universe, probably a very similar life, but perhaps having done something in my past that was different and having a different sort of outcome. But I guess fundamentally, spiritually, I wish that myself as a person is still the same in that other universe. And when I lean into this very fantastical image, just wondering what she's doing in that other universe, literally at the same time as I am doing right now, I'm recording this video. I have no idea what my alternate universe self is doing in that alternate universe. But I use this kind of as a tool to let my attachment to what I want for myself now that didn't happen, that I'm giving myself a hard time for, I let that go. I let that go in a way where I have attached it to myself in another universe, and that is for her to have. That's how I explain it to myself in my head. Whatever I wish happened to me in this universe that didn't happen to me, that I'm giving myself a hard time over, I am blessing that for my other universe self. And it's crazy. I mean, you have to be in a very kind of spiritual brain space to really embody this. And I am not saying I do this on a regular basis, by no means. I think I have to really get into that space. But, you know, even thinking about this way amuses me and just puts my situation and how I'm looking at myself in this life in a different way. A further extrapolation of this is I believe that my soul in this body, in this life, I'm only here once as who I am. And that's really powerful for me. If I can then see that I am so special and magnetic and unique, and this life that I have right now is so unique, then it allows me to be kinder to myself. Because if you believe that your soul will go on to another body and live another life, then while it isn't with me in my body right now, I want to give it a good trip. Yeah. I'm an analytical person, and when I think about breaking down and analyzing why it is that I'm so hard myself, usually it comes down to one of two things. Basically, I'm comparing myself to other people. That's the first step. And the second step is I then set really high standards for myself, which is awesome. We should all set high standards for ourselves. But I think I sometimes conflate that with very unrealistic expectations. So for me, it also helps after I've done all the emotional, the mantras, the perspectives I've just described, I would look back and then I would say, where did I even get these expectations from? And parts theory from therapy also helps here too, when you think of yourself as comprised of many, many parts, right? And certainly one, I think a lot of people resonate with me, is I got a part from my immigrant upbringing and from my parents, where we had very high expectations for myself. And that's awesome. I really like that. But then the question becomes, when does it not serve you anymore? So if you find yourself in a position where you're always being really, really hard on yourself, I want you to start analyzing that too and asking yourself, where did that come from? And if you think it's yourself, you're giving these high expectations to yourself, then name the part of you that's giving yourself that message and really thinking about, what does this part want me to know, and what is it saying to me, and what does it want me to get out of my life right now, and how is that actually different from my reality? And what am I doing that's deviating from that? And then how did I make this all become something where I'm giving myself a hard time? If you guys have any other tips that you use for you to stop being hard on yourself, share it in the comments below so we can all see.